Welcome back to another movie review here on Josh Does Movies, and today we are going over the new Sony blockbuster, or wannabe blockbuster, Uncharted. For anybody who doesn't know, this is definitely one of their more popular game series that have been Sony exclusives. It follows Nathan Drake, and it takes a very much a Indiana Jones National Treasure inspired treasure hunt type feel in the games. And going in, the movie was kind of did that a lot, but also not enough. Tom Holland stars as a young Nathan Drake. Um, Mark Wahlberg comes in as Sully Victor Sullivan. Yet Antonio Banderas play one of the villains, Santiago Mancada. Sophia Ali plays Chloe Fraser, and Gabriel plays Braddock. And she has some goons there, but that's pretty much the main cast of the movie. Coming into Uncharted, I was kind of hopeful. I really like the Indiana Jones style of movies, like the little bit of like a treasure hunted adventure. Sometimes you don't even need villains in these type of movies. You just need to tell a good story, and you don't have to depend on different tropes and things to enjoy it overall. I have to say, I'm not somebody who's gone and played Uncharted games. I know literally nothing about the story, the characters of the movie, so I'm coming into this blind and fresh. And I have to say, I was pretty underwhelmed by this film. I think Tom Holland in the second half of the movie really kicks off going, but I did not like where the writing had him in the first half. He was basically playing Peter Parker in the first third of this movie, and while that is a beloved character I have in Marvel in some way, it didn't feel right for this movie. If I'm gonna have some type of adventure movie where I have this lead that does a lot of cool things, I kind of want them to be knowledgeable and I want them to feel experienced and pristine coming in. He's still cracking the same teenage, young 20-year-old jokes. I know he's 25, but we can play up his age a little bit. We don't always have to make him seem like he's an 18, 19, 20, 21 year old. And I think the movie does best when he's acting, he's taking the lead and he's discovering things and making these connections himself, when it comes to the kind of the treasure MacGuffin that you want in the movie. And the first half of the movie, it felt like they were just trying to be a comedy, a buddy cop film between him and Mark Wahlberg's Victor Sullivan. And I'll be honest, Mark Wahlberg does the same thing he does in every movie. He makes the same jokes he makes in every movie. It's the same accent and same voice. He doesn't really play anything different, and I would never have casted him in this role. And it just comes off as a weird dynamic between Drake and Sullivan and Tom and Mark. The chemistry wasn't very there. Like they call back like the same jokes and the same things 5 or 6 times. And honestly, I think that's kind of an essence of this movie is less is sometimes more. If I'm watching this movie, if somebody asked me how you can describe it, it's a wannabe Ocean's 11 meets Mission Impossible meets National Treasure meets Indiana Jones meets The Fast and the Furious. It literally like almost copies beats by beats parts of those movies per se. How Nathan and Victor meet together was very Ocean's 11. Part of me kind of wishes you can get like an Ocean's film like in this aspect where you're kind of looking to find some type of treasure some way where you don't need a bad guy, which is who Antonio Banderas and Taddy Gabriel played as Santiago Mancada and Braddock. We didn't need these cheesy backbone villains. Sometimes the actual hunt itself is all the story you need, but we had 3 or 4 callbacks to like pickpocketing gags. They went on a couple different chases for a couple different map scenes, and we had like everybody crossing each other on stop in the movie. No trust being built when there should have been trust being built. There's like a part in this movie where Tom Holland saves a character, and then they instantly like go to betray him as if he didn't just save their life and he's somebody who is openly looking to cross somebody. It literally doesn't make sense as a narrative standpoint, and I think this is where this movie has the biggest flaws. and just the overall clutteredness of it is it's just nonstop the same thing over and over and over again. And some of the ways and the kind of the oohs and ahs of the movie just didn't like. Some parts really worked for me. I love the parts in the end where you have the ship. I think some scenes were very well done. Them going through parts of the Barcelona um, cave going. But then there's some parts where you're having Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland and Chloe Fraser, Sophia Ali's Chloe Fraser, like on this treasure hunt map in these ruins, and they pop out, and all of these things that they need to find are like in everyday society. You have one point where Tom Holland's saying nobody's been in these catacombs for 400 years, and right next to it is like very modern plumbing, and then like he pokes open a wall and it's in a nightclub. Very unbelievable. Mark Wahlberg at one point is literally going through a Papa John's to find a place to put an item. Just, again, less, more. We didn't need to have the same public gag twice. It didn't really fit well here. I never understood like Braddock's like pure motivation to where, she pretty much like, you were a villain and you want to figure out what Nathan and Sully are figuring out in the movie and get a hold of the information for the treasure. Why are you trying to stop them when they're in the middle of finding it? Obviously, you're tailing them and they weren't knowing. Why are you showing up to try to kill Sully in the Papa John's when you just want to see, you could just have them do with all the dirty work and move forward and take it to yourself. So the villains come off as incredibly stupid and just short-sighted and dumb, which I don't think is good with how much time they spent on them. Banderas does a fine job in a role that was really nothing. He's in there, you see him, you understand his connection and why he wants this treasure, and then that's about all you get out of him. Chloe Fraser, I thought, had some good points, but with Sophia Ali's character. But again, Chloe as a character, I just too much iffy there. Whatever, no, like there was some chemistry that you could have had with Tom Holland's Nathan Drake, but like the film just couldn't stop with this whole notion of like nobody can trust one another. We must cut each other, stab each other in the back. It was just again too many times. At some point, you should have had a core group come together. And honestly, there's a point where when Taddy, when Braddock does something in the movie, and that would have been awesome just to see Drake, Sullivan, Fraser, and Braddock all just come together, a part of one crew, looking to find a treasure. And now you have this kind of group of people who I would be willing to go on more adventures with. But instead, it just becomes this: how are you going to stab them in the back? What have you done that wronged me? Oh, you're a horrible person. And you just have Nathan there being like, I'm just trying to be the young, warm-hearted kid who's having fun finding treasure and doing this adventure that I wanted to do with my brother for a long time, which I thought parts of the brothers, were very well done, with kind of him hinting. I didn't like kind of the background story of it. I know it's probably key to the game, but we didn't need his brother to be, to go any further than just have him be lost. That's all. We didn't need to know if anything happened to him. We didn't add anything to me in the movie as a fresh watcher to give more information in the middle of the movie. Like I said, it would have been great if you could have just brought Drake, Sully, Chloe, and Braddock together in the end, and they could have discovered this treasure at the at the very end. But no, it's the same. Evil villain Braddock. Chloe can't trust anybody, and Sully, you see from a mile away what's going to happen, and it doesn't make it impactful at all. So but there are some good parts. I think Holland does very well with action. I think him doing a lot of his stunts was just superbly done. Minus one scene, I thought the action was very well grounded and very well done. The one scene that I didn't like was the one that we saw in all the trailers, which was, Howard, them on the plane and coming off. Like, that's where it became Fast and Furious, because physics, like they took the laws of physics and like reality and were like, sorry, we're in Fast and the Furious world. Get out of here. Yeah, people might be flying down on like hundreds of miles per hour most likely, or 40, 50. I don't know what terminal velocity is for humans, but they can reach out and grab each other or grab onto something else and not completely rip off somebody's arm. Completely like I didn't, and I'm not trying to say you have to be that way, but when you have other very good grounded fights, sequences, and then you have this horrible one with the plane falling off in certain ways, just really took me out of it and made me laugh more than made me ooh. Um, One thing I can say I did is I watched this movie in the first time I've ever been in one of these theaters here, the 4DX experience, where they kind of can spray water on you. You kind of get like the air effects. The seats kind of bump, right up and down like a roller coaster, and I did enjoy that. I actually think it made this movie somewhat more enjoyable because I was like, ooh, I'm like, oh, I'm all over the place. Whereas if I was just sitting there and watching it wouldn't have been part of the experience, and I would have just been like, this is not that great. But I do think that this has potential in a sequel if they get things right. We don't need villains. We really, really don't need villains on movies like these, in my opinions. Or if you do have villains, have them be subtle and have them be somebody that I feel can be a peer and isn't some weird type of direction per se. Don't give them some type of extra face. I honestly think, like I said, this movie would have been great if it was just the four main people who are looking for this treasure coming together and finding it with each other. The ending sequence was very well done per se. Again, you kind of knew how it was going to end. But I kind of look forward to this going further. I hope that Holland can be more of a personal lead as Nathan Drake. Sully can take more of a background approach. I don't want them to be a buddy cop duo. I just want Nathan Drake as the lead. And if anything, I would love to get more of Sophia Ali's Chloe Fraser if they do more. But as far as me concerned, the people who I think would like this are people who just like pointless action flicks. I think if you watch it in 4DX, it does add something to the experience, but that's about all the people would recommend it for. You're not going to get much out of this movie for plot. You're not going to get much out of it for story. And for the people I know who watched the movie that were Uncharted game players, I've heard they're pretty upset with the adaptation and how it treated some characters like Sully and Drake. So I don't know if you'd be liking it that way at all. As far as where I'm going to rank it in my charts for the year, it's not the worst movie of the year so far. Moonfall is going to probably take that to the grave of being the worst movie that I see in 2022. But right now, I'll put it Uncharted just a little bit above it. I think Uncharted, like I said, it has its merits in some ways, but it really just kept doing the same gags and the same things over and over and over. And then even parts where the treasure, you find the treasure, it's like, dude, this is an island in the treasure with these ships. If you look up, is a big giant hole. Are you saying nobody found this for years? Like if you flew a helicopter over it, you would have found this treasure. So it just, for me, the hunt wasn't very great. The chemistry between most of the characters weren't great. I didn't enjoy the story too much. The first half where Nathan Drake, Tom Holland's Nathan Drake, he was basically Peter Parker playing the 20-year-old, I'm talented, but I don't know anything type of role. And until he really started becoming more of the, I know what's going on, I'm being smart, I'm in my element here, I don't need anybody to tell me what to do. That's when the movie got to be the best, and that's when the Drake character really shined, and I think has potential in the future. Tell me what you think below. I'm gonna have Death on the Nile on Monday. We have other movies coming out here soon. Batman's coming out in a couple weeks. I'm gonna be going to the special early screening showing of that here, so I'll be able to get that review out even before it debuts in theaters, as long as there's no review embargo for it. But either way, tell me your thoughts on Uncharted. Leave a like, subscribe, come back more for more content. If you want to see me do some TV reviews, I've watched a few different shows lately, and I can always make videos for that. Trailer reactions, I'm going to try to catch up on them. I could have did some for the Super Bowl, but I've already seen them before, and I don't want to give a filming of myself watching something for the second time. So I need to be better about that, but thank you for stopping in. I hope you had a good time, and until next time, stay chill.